Welcome to A Garden a Day with Maidenbrock Gardens, where we explore the world one garden at a time. Today is March 25th. The first word that will most likely come to mind when first seeing today's garden is wow, if you are able to articulate any word at all. Today we are exploring Lotusland in Montecito, California. Lotusland is the fulfillment of one woman's gardening desires. Madame Ganavalska purchased the 37-acre estate in Montecito in 1941 at age 54 and spent the next 43 years creating the garden that visitors enjoy today. Born in Poland in 1887, Madame Valska studied singing in Paris and performed as a concert singer touring Europe and America. In 1922, she purchased the majority share of the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées, which she managed for 10 years and owned for 50. In 1927, she entered the perfume and cosmetic business to help defray some of the costs of running the theater. In 1929, she purchased a country estate outside of Versailles and began gardening. Meanwhile, in California, the land that would become Lotusland was purchased in 1882, 5 years before Ganavalska was born, by Kenton Stevens. He named the property Tanglewood and used it as a commercial nursery. In 1916, the property was purchased by Palmer and Marie Gavitt. They renamed the property Cuesta Linda and hired architect Reginald Johnson to construct a Spanish colonial-style home on the property. The house was completed in 1920. Several years later, the Gavitts added a swimming pool, bathhouse, pavilion, stable, and several other outbuildings to the property. In 1939, after the deaths of the Gavitts, the property was purchased by Sir Humphrey Clark, a British diplomat, who then sold the estate to Madame Ganavalska in 1941. She renamed the estate Tibetland. A year earlier, Valska had met Theos Bernard, a yoga practitioner and considered by some to be one of the first Westerners to bring Buddhism, yoga, and other spiritual practices of India to popularity. In 1942, they married. This was to be Valska's sixth and final husband. The couple planned to bring Tibetan monks to the property to stay, but World War II interfered with their plans. They were never able to accomplish their plan, and in 1946, they divorced. Ganavalska renamed the estate Lotusland after the abundance of lotus flowers in the pond and spent the next 38 years gardening at Lotusland. She passed away in 1984, leaving her entire estate to the Ganavalska Lotusland Foundation to ensure its care and maintenance far into the future. The foundation repaired walkways, readied the garden, hired staff, and built a visitor center before opening to the public in 1993. Since then, repairs and renovations to the garden and the buildings have been ongoing. Today, there are more than 20 gardens within the garden of tropical and subtropical plants, cacti, and succulents. Directly in front of the house is a collection of cacti and euphorbias planted in 1941, shortly after Ganavalska purchased the property. There is an additional cactus garden donated to Lotusland in 1966 and not installed in the garden until 1999. There are separate gardens dedicated to succulents, aloe, ferns, and bromeliads. A notable garden is the Blue Garden, begun as the Silver Garden in 1948 with the planting of blue atlas cedars. Other blue plants were added to complement the cedars, and by the mid-1950s, the garden was considered one of the chicest gardens in California. The single-color garden was very much of its time. Another notable garden is the Theater Garden. Here, visitors will find a number of stone statues, many quite amusing, that represent familiar characters of satire and tragicomedy. The Water Garden was originally designed in the 1920s as the swimming pool and bathhouse. By the time Madame Valska purchased the estate in the 1940s, the pool was cracked and needed repair. She decided to transform the pool into a pond and added aquatic plants. This is where the garden, with its abundance of lotus blooms, gets its name. The flowers bloom in greatest abundance in July and August. Water lilies, duckweed, and other aquatic plants are also found there. Visitors will also find a Japanese garden, Australian garden, and an orchard with around 160 fruit trees. Lotusland was one of the first public gardens to make significant efforts of sustainability. They are a fully organic garden that makes its own compost tea and tends an insectary garden to attract pollinators and beneficial insects. The garden offers educational programs and events throughout the year. Area 4th graders are invited to the garden each year for a junior botany program, and there are resources for teachers as well. Adults will enjoy yoga in the garden, as well as meditation, sound bath, and Reiki. This summer, the garden will host a summer picnic on the lawn and a garden gala. Lotusland is located in a residential area and adheres to a strict admission policy. The local government dictates how many visitors can be on the property on any given day and at what hours. The garden is open Wednesday to Saturday with only 2 tours per day. Advance reservations are required. Well, that's about it for today's garden visit. Join me here tomorrow to find out where we're going next. I do hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you have, please consider telling your friends and subscribing. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate all your support. That's about it for today. If all goes well, I'll be right back here tomorrow. See you then.